Hi everyone, it's so happy to share our business decision final assignments project with you guys. So our title is a challenging with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) implementation is accountability missing. My name is Anna, and here is the introduction and background. So we doing these things is more like focus on gender equity SDG 5, climate action SDG 13, and equality education SDG 4. So this goes on to and promote equality and protect the planet by 2030. Even all the countries still have strong support and actual progress in an event. So, and for this, all the almost research focus only on numbers like complexion rates and showing how what things happen and right now what's the data information in the world, not on how accountability and governance effect result. So our research files will be more focused this gap using accountability theory and the participatory governance framework to show how strong accountability can make SDG policy more effective. So let's come to have Luda researching research questions. We more focus on like three different questions. The first one gonna be like a main question is how do currently government structures slow or hard SDG progress? The second one is a what kind of challenges do governments face when building accountability systems? The third one is how can participation and transparency improve results. This of the goal is to understand how better accountability can turn global promises into real measurable with the outcomes. Have to do with the research objectives with this project. So here gonna be focused on three different parts. The first one will be the NSS accountability effectiveness relationship between between all the countries who following with the policy. And the second part will be the identified system-wide obstacles. So it's kind of we look around what's the organizations and the governments be doing and being support and how's the everything be effective with the result. And the third one is the proposed government's recommendations. It's more like a kind of like the policy systems going to be following and promoting inclusive, sustainable progress with SDG 5, 13, and 4 implementation.
Next is a part of literature review. Let's begin with the SDG 5, gender equality. And past research shows that making gender equality laws is not enough. What matters is whether these laws are actually followed, monitored, and enforced. The World Bank and ILO note that developed countries tend to make faster progress than developing ones. Scholars like Kaber and Bennett point out that in many countries, transparency exists on paper, but there isn't always real follow-up. So the key idea here is progress on gender equality relies not just on policy design, but on the strength of accountability systems behind those policies. And now looking at SDG 13 climate action, the research here tells a very similar story. For climate goals to be effective, we need clear and enforceable accountability, not just voluntary reporting. UNEP and the IPCC suggest that setting up regular climate accountability audits to check progress and correct problems. Without a unified system to review climate actions, even strong policies can end up with weak results. So again, transparency alone isn't enough. Countries need systems that actually ensure action happens.
And here is with the prior studies and natural review. So I will be focused on the quality education SDG 4. For quality education, most study look like from the data we can see they only focus like enrollment on funding, but still in the world we still have a 129 million girls still lack on, they can't have the basic education, which is so sad. And this showing deeper social and cultural control that policy alone, which is we can't fix. And field study focus on accountability like teacher evaluation on funding, transparency. My study puts these mechanisms at the center. Link education with gender, climate, and healthy goals. This aims is to help build transparent and particularly government for sustainable SDG progress. So let's have a look with the research method and design. For this research project, we're using the secondary data and meaningful from UNTB and UNSCORED and the World Bank. So not survives with any interviews done because with the time limit, and also it's very hard to get a chance to interview someone who got the power to change this kind of policy. So the data will analyze through with the 4 steps. The first one is that we're selecting the report from 2018 to 2024. And then the second step, we're gonna do the exercise and then being reading and then combine with all the information, the method counting by topic. And the third step is comparing with the key trends. And the last one, we will be applying accountability theory. So these are the limit by secondary data. And this method give such very clear, reliable overview of how accountability affect SDG outcomes. Even like for someone, if they not really be in this anything in this industry after they read it, they're gonna be have the common understand on foundation.
Now let's collect these two data. In Australia, female labor participation increased from 60.1% to 64% over 10 years. In Indonesia, it only moved slightly from 51.8% to 52.3%. Both governments say that support gender equality, but the results are very different. Australia has disclosure rules like mandatory gender pay reporting, but still lacks strong penalties. And while Indonesia relies more on external support and local capacity varies a lot. So the key takeaway is that policies exist, but without strong accountability, progress stays limited. Next, let's look at CO2 emissions. In Australia, emission fell from 16.4 tons to 14.2 tons per person. While in Indonesia, they rose from 2 to 2.5 tons. Both countries joined global climate agreements, but their outcome diverged. Australia's results are mixed because reporting exists, but auditing is fragmented. Indonesia prioritized the economic growth, so climate action sometimes takes a backseat. This shows that voluntary reporting and transparency cannot guarantee consistent reductions. We need structured audits and interdepartment monitoring to actually follow through. And very briefly on SDG 4, the quality education. UNESCO reports around 129 million girls still out of school, and fewer than 40% of developing countries publish education budgets. Many countries focus on enrollment, but there isn't enough attention on funding transparency or teacher performance evaluation. So here again, good policies exist, but without financial accountability and monitoring, progress remains uneven and slow. So let's go to the conclusion part. To conclude, across SDG 5, SDG 13, and SDG 4, we see the same pattern. Strong policies and commitments are there, but accountability systems are not always strong enough to turn those commitments into real results. Our research contributes by shifting the focus from just counting outcomes to analyzing the accountability chain. It's about how policies are monitored, enforced, and corrected. Particularly, we recommend regular accountability audits, better coordination between government departments, and public participation in monitoring. There are also the limitations. Our study relies on secondary data, and future research could use interviews or case studies to go deeper research. But the bottom line is very clear. Transparency without consequences remain symbolic. Real SDG progress happens only when accountability becomes part of the system. This is my reflection part of this assignment. For this project, I mainly focused on SDG 5, gender equality, and SDG 13, climate action, especially from the perspective of accountability mechanisms. And my contribution included collecting international data, analyzing the trend between Australia and Indonesia, and linking those findings to accountability gaps in policy execution. What challenged me most wasn't finding data. The World Bank and the UN websites are accessible, but rather making sense of the numbers beyond surface comparison. For example, although Australia has higher female labor participation and decreasing emissions, the improvement does not automatically mean accountability is strong. Through deeper reading, I realized that transparency without mandatory enforcement becomes symbolic, not transformative. This changed my understanding of sustainability. In the past, I assumed SDG progress relied mostly on policies and funding, but now I understand that even good policies fail without institutional responsibility, enforcement, and follow-up mechanisms. Accountability is not only about publishing reports, it's about making consequences visible and ensuring corrections actually happen. So personally, I also learned the importance of connecting macro level data with real government's logic. Numbers alone are natural. It's the governance structure behind them that determines outcomes. This process pushed me to move beyond description and develop more evaluation thinking, asking not only what happened, but why it happened and what is missing in this system. Overall, this assignment strengthened my ability to read data critically, think across systems, and reflect on policy implementation realistically, instead of ideally. It also reminded me that sustainability is not achieved through promises, but through consistent accountability and institutional courage. Okay, that's.
Thank you for listening with our presentation today. So at the end, we want to have a true critical thinking with this project. The first one is with this kind of assignment, like group assignment project, be honest, it's quite hard for us because we both from a different major class and then join this project. And then also we got our own life schedule, which is different. And sometimes one of us maybe got sick, we can't really organize that much time. And we keep communication and then make this project done. And then the second one is like I think after I studied this major, it's quite interesting for me, be honestly. I feel like accounting is not, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. It can be very seriously because all about the money and capitals numbers. Maybe for some rich people, they just numbers. And the only things for the normal person, we can't do much with any like biggest policy in the world. But what we can do, we can try to learn and then study how to management our money, where it's going, and then all the income outcome, have a good financial plan. At the end of the day, we both want to have a good life. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, thank you for